Good day to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our tropical weather outlook for August 31st, last day of August 2025. It is a Sunday, and let's begin today's video by going over, as we typically do, the tropical weather bulletin from the National Hurricane Center. And in the Atlantic, we are watching and continuing to watch an area of interest in the Eastern Atlantic with a tropical wave that is now beginning to move off the coast of Africa, and I'll show you the wave on satellite imagery in a moment. But we're going to have to watch this over this coming week. Both of the models, the European and the GFS, are on board now with showing development of this storm. And in fact, I talked about it earlier today on Twitter, but this might be an interesting development that we'll have to watch throughout the entirety of this upcoming next week, because it might develop some in the MDR, but the models actually have, both the Euro and the GFS have this persisting into the Western Atlantic. And, in some cases, the GFS has it developing and lasting all throughout. But the Euro kind of has this weird thing where it develops in the Eastern Atlantic, struggles for a little bit, but then really re-sparks in the Western Atlantic. Bottom line, what I'm saying is we're going to have to watch this area of interest here very closely, and probably for a while. And it's happening right on cue, last day of August, right as we head into September, that we're getting something that we need to watch. But we also have quite a few things we need to watch in the Pacific. We now have Tropical Storm Kiko, which formed this morning, as I said it would, from Invest 93E yesterday. And this is likely to potentially become a hurricane over the next several days as this moves off to the west-northwest, well out to sea in the Pacific. This will not impact anybody, but it is another tropical storm in the Pacific nonetheless. The latest advisory, maximum sustained winds at 40 miles per hour, minimum central pressure 1,007 millibars, and if you're tracking it, it is located at 14.4 north, 123.1 west, and it is moving west at 9 miles an hour. And here's a satellite image of Kiko this morning, and you can definitely see it has that shrimp look to it that we always like to mention, where it has this band that kind of comes in and wraps into the core, which is presumably somewhere in here where there is quite a bit of convection bursting. And this is probably going to hold on to tropical storm status for a few days, but eventually it will probably strengthen into a hurricane. The National Hurricane Center has this strengthening as we get into early next week. And I think the National Hurricane Center actually has this peak at around mid to high end Category 1 status. And let's actually see here how strong the intensity guidance brings this storm. And it's actually pretty decent. I mentioned yesterday that the hurricane models had this actually strengthening quite a bit, and it looks like the HAFS models still do today. Both of them are in major hurricane intensity, but pretty much all of the models strengthen this to either Category 1 or Category 2 intensity. So this probably will become a pretty decently strong storm. And of course, yet another named storm for the Eastern Pacific. Let's zoom out into the general Eastern Pacific, because obviously we have Kiko, and we have our another area of interest back to the east here, which will be much closer to the Mexican coastline. And from what I see, I don't think there's going to be direct landfall or a direct landfall to the Mexican coast, but at least judging by the area of shaded development here on the National Hurricane Center, this looks like it will be pretty close. So maybe we might need to watch for potential tropical storm winds, gusty wind, and heavy rains of some sort to occur here along some portions of the Mexican coastline over the next few days. But we'll see if this actually makes any direct impact. I don't think so. But I will show you the models in a little bit, so we'll see then if the models show any potential for direct impact to Mexico. Meanwhile, in the Atlantic, obviously not as active right now, and as I said before, this is because of the MJO moving through in the Eastern Pacific, which is why we have Kiko, and probably our other areas that we're going to have to watch for development. And the Atlantic, not as active right now. But that's probably going to change with this wave here in the Eastern Atlantic that is moving off the coast of Africa right now. And let me actually zoom in on it for you. And you can see right here, this is the wave that we are watching, that the models are showing development for over the next week as we head throughout the Eastern Atlantic. And this is the wave that is now beginning to move off of Africa. It definitely has quite a bit of convection associated with it. Obviously not super organized right now. It's not going to organize too quickly over the next few days, although it might develop sometime next week. But here's that wave, and we're probably going to have to watch this very closely for quite a long period of time here coming up over the next week. And I'll show you with the models. Let's see what they show. And here's the GFS for the 12Z just beginning to load, actually. And you can see what this wave does here. Slowly moves to the west. And then eventually, as we head into the end of next week, around Thursday and Friday, the GFS actually begins to develop it. And then we have a pretty decent tropical storm here, probably moving westward throughout the MDR. And then this is probably at a week out as we head into late next week. Late next week, 7 days out from now, exactly, we have a tropical storm here in the MDR. But then I do want to show you, and I don't do this often, but again, this is a trend that I've been seeing in the models, and I really want to point it out to you. It's very interesting how, especially once you go beyond that, on the GFS at least, the model, the storm, whatever develops here in the MDR, kind of weakens for a little bit as it gets further westward. And I explained on Twitter earlier why that's the case. There's some sort of tut here in the upper levels of the atmosphere, a tropical upper tropospheric trough, and that tends to bring dry air and wind shear in anything that comes in its path. In fact, let me show you on the upper level dynamics, and you can see if we could actually see it here. Yes, it is. This is where it is, and this is it's a trough that develops in the upper atmosphere because of the jet stream, or breaks off from the jet stream. You can actually see the indent of the tut through here, and this tends to bring wind shear and dry air over a storm for a while, but eventually, as this tut dies out, as it seems like it will, and you could see, especially beyond the 10-day time frame, you notice for a few days, obviously feeling the effects of the tut, and then after that, it strengthens quite a bit once again, and then very interesting that we have a ridge that builds up here, just right over the top of it. Obviously, though, not going to be focusing on anything specific that happens, especially since this is 11, 12 days out. But I'm doing this to bring to your attention the fact of this, dying out, weakening for a few days, and then afterward, re-strengthening. And as you can see here, especially on the GFS model, re-strengthening quite a bit. And I want to bring it up to you that it's not just the GFS showing it. I want to show you the GFS and the Euro, because both of the models show this happening pretty much beyond 7 days out, especially once we get to the 10, 11, 12-day time frame. And I'll show you right here, European a little bit slower with the development of this storm. So it probably feels all of the effects of the tut earlier, or whatever unfavorable conditions there might be that the GFS has, and because of it slows down development after it initially strengthens here in the Eastern MDR. The Euro just completely has this rekindling or actually coming to life anyways in the Western MDR. So the trend that I want to show you here, and the trend that I'm trying to show you, is both of the models have this really beginning to intensify once again as this heads into the Western Atlantic. And this is very interesting because I said not long ago, and this was before Aaron happened, that the atmosphere, especially in the Western Atlantic, just north of the islands, in the southwestern Atlantic Ocean as a whole, near the Bahamas, that area really is almost like a sort of jet fuel for storms to rapidly intensify this year. I think earlier on in the month, there was a graph that I saw on Twitter, and conditions, especially highlighted just off the East Coast, were very, very favorable, very, very favorable wind shear, favorable upper ocean heat content. And obviously that resulted in what we saw with Aaron. And it's very interesting that the models are once again showing something developing here. And then it kind of maintains itself, weakens a little bit over the next few days in the MDR, but then uh, suddenly explodes into life, and really intensifies once it gets further west in the MDR and into the actual southwestern Atlantic. It's just these trends that you got to notice, and sometimes when you're actually paying a close attention to these trends, you really start to see things, and it begins to make you speculate. So we'll have to watch. All I'm saying is we'll have to watch and see over the next several weeks, how things play out here with this area of interest. But once again, I honestly believe we're probably going to be having to watch. We're probably going to have to watch this area for quite a bit of time, probably beyond just the next week alone. And obviously, we'll also have to watch what else tries to develop, because by then we're going to be getting into mid-September, especially if we have to watch this for the next week or 2 weeks. And you could already bet that by the time, we're probably already going to start having more model signals for development in the Atlantic, as we're going to be progressing further into the month of September. And only a matter of time, once again, before we see the full flip switch into the peak of the hurricane season, and things really take off in the Atlantic, and we'll probably have multiple storms before you know it that we'll have to watch at once. But obviously, for now, we're not there yet. Just have this area to watch in the Eastern Atlantic, and obviously, of course, we'll be monitoring it closely over the next several days. With that being said, I'm going to end it off for today's video. Hope you enjoyed what you saw today. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with family and friends, and turn on the notification bell so you can get videos the moment I upload them, which I do every day. And of course, we're going to have one for tomorrow for you, since obviously tomorrow is the first day of September. So hope to see you then. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, stay safe, stay blessed, and of course, I'll see you again tomorrow.